Nestled in the heart of historic downtown Wilkesboro, the 1915 offers a wedding experience like no other. Once a federal courthouse and post office, the 1915 combines rich history with timeless charm. From intimate gatherings to full-day rentals, we provide the perfect backdrop for your most cherished moments. With indoor and outdoor options, bridal and groom suites, every detail is crafted just for you. Make your wedding unforgettable at the 1915, Wilkesboro's historic wedding venue, where your story begins.
Closed Captions for Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency of Wilkesboro, an award-winning experienced family, owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations.
Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Good morning, Holly. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Great to see you. It's always good to have creative people in the studio, and especially during Christmas.
I'm really excited to be here. Never done anything like this before, so
I find that remarkably surprising because of what you do on a volunteer basis and you've done for so many years. Tell everybody what you do at Wilkes Playmakers.
Well, right now I volunteer as much time as I can, and I spend most of my time directing shows. Mm-hmm. I'm currently directing my 4th show for Wilkes Playmakers in 2 years now.
Okay.
So I've been very busy for the last couple of years, but before that I really didn't get an opportunity to be behind the scenes very much because of other responsibilities there.
And then even before that, you were also involved with Wilkes Playmakers because you had an exalted position there, right?
Yes, I did serve as the board president for several years. I feel like I've kind of lost count at this point. I think it was around 5 years or so, but really started volunteering in 2016. But really my time with Wilkes Playmakers started even before that because my kids got involved well before I did. They started doing shows. My sister was involved, so she talked me into letting them audition for shows. So they went and they were in shows. And at that point, I was really just kind of a parent behind the scenes, like not really super involved. But I'm glad that I finally did take the dive and get more involved.
Well, let's talk a moment about that, because I think that's really important, that we take a moment to let people get to know who you are and why you've not only been involved with Wilkes Playmakers or community theater, but done it for so long, and now on so many different levels, from being a parent to being involved with the board and serving there, which is all volunteer work.
It is.
And doing your term there. Now somebody else is doing that part, but yet you're still there and you're involved, and now you're actually directing shows.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack there, but let's go back to a little bit of your behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, but just your history of what put you in the mindset and position to even want to do that.
Well, I've always had a love for theater and everything artistic, starting in high school. I had children young, so I never really had an opportunity to get involved in anything like that. And my sister actually, she was directing a show, she wasn't directing the show, but she was in a show back in 2016. And she said, hey, you should come and volunteer for House Committee for this show that I'm in. And I just saw how much fun it was. So really, it's Erica's doing that I've been so involved.
Your sister.
My sister, yeah. She started directing long before I did, and a lot of what I know now I learned from her. So it really is just kind of downhill from there. I volunteered for that one show and then just kept coming back. And then some of the board members had expressed the need to establish a fundraising committee, which is where I got involved in initially. So I started planning events and doing fundraisers, and then probably about a year or so later is when I joined the board.
Wow. So it was an interesting turn of phrase. You said it was all downhill from there. so
I definitely don't mean it in a negative context.
I would say, wait a minute. So
yes.
it became easier.
It did.
Okay.
It was.
Right.
It just felt natural.
Right.
It felt like the right place to be, and that feeling just has not changed in the last 8 years now.
Were your family involved? I mean, your mom and dad, were they creative people?
I mean, they're both very artistic in their own ways. My dad plays music, and my mom she's painted, and my brothers are painters and
Okay.
artistic too. So there's a little bit of our artistic desire with everyone in our family. So I think it is definitely generational.
Right. So your last name is one. When you came in, I was like, okay, let me phonetically get this right. So I pronounced your last name correctly. And you said, well, it's that way because my husband's German. So how did that happen, that you went from a Carolina mountain family, right?
Yes.
And you find a German.
Well, it's actually a pretty interesting story.
Yes.
So my maiden name is Williams. So yes, I'm very much
Right.
born, bred Wilkes County. I met my husband online playing World of Warcraft.
Interesting. Really?
Yes. He lived in Germany at the time, and we started playing the game together and hit it off, and then he came here to visit.
Were you, wait a minute. Were you playing?
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, this is great. Were you playing like complimentary roles did you become a couple in the game before?
Not really to
No?
that sense, but it started off, just playing with a big group of people, and then you get to know each other a little bit better because you do spend a lot of time playing, and then we were in the same guild, so same team,
Okay.
within the game, and we started talking to each other more and more offline, outside of the game, and then things just sort of evolved. And
When you say offline, it was just not in the game,
over
but
the
still
phone,
on.
yeah.
Okay, all right,
yeah,
okay.
and this was almost 20 years ago now.
So this would have been earlier in the development of that game, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it had been out for a couple years at that point. I think they just had a
Right.
big anniversary. So yeah, so we would talk on the phone, texting, whatever, or and then he came to visit and went home for 2 weeks and came back and didn't leave. So.
Wow, what a story!
Everybody says, "Oh, it's so romantic. He moved across the world for you," and to me, in the moment, it didn't necessarily feel like that's what happened. But when you look back on it, I mean, that's what happened. He moved across the world for me.
Well, it's history repeating itself. Years ago, I was working on a story at the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games, and I met this couple called the Riverwinds, Joseph and Laurelyn Riverwind, and we became friends. And they shared a story about their family and about the history of the Cherokee Indians and the Germans and the Scots. And there were a lot of German men who fell in love with Cherokee ladies, and they become a couple and built a family. So the idea of people from Germany finding folks in the Carolina enticing, that's not a new trick. And that was before there were any games, right?
Yes,
that was
yes.
really a big effort to make that travel.
Yeah, I know. Back when when we met, a lot of people were a little skeptical, because online dating wasn't really a thing at that point.
No, that's right.
And so people were a little worried, but
And I think with good reason, because there were
yeah.
there were bad players pretty much in everything, right?
yeah, definitely. But luckily, it's worked out, and we've been married for 16 years now.
Wow. And is he a theater guy too?
No.
No.
He definitely does his part and makes sure that he shows up to watch my shows, and he's there, but he's got other interests.
Right. Well, he's a Warcraft guy. So my goodness.
Yes. Lately, it's been the Hornets, but
Right.
he likes basketball.
All right. Good. All right. So that well, it certainly seems like you come from a creative family and you have a creative spirit about you, just in the way you fell in love and made a family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's pretty exciting. So before we go on and talk about all the other magic that goes on stage at Benton Hall, talk about who's sitting there beside you. I love the idea of interns, especially in creative environments, and having people who can, the future comes along,
Definitely.
right? So
Yes.
talk about who's beside you.
So I will introduce Chloe Skinner. She has been my assistant director for the show that we're currently working on. But just a little background. The very first show I ever directed was Alice in Wonderland. 2 years ago now, I think.
So that was your first show directing?
That was my first show directing. And I cast Chloe as my lead, one of my leads. And just her overall professionalism and how passionate she is for the craft just, made me just love her and adore her. So I had heard that she was interested in learning how to direct. And so when I was asked to direct Reindeer Games, I knew she was the obvious choice to be my assistant director for this. So, and like you said, we do need to, train the younger generation to be able to come in and do some of these more, I guess, the roles with more responsibility. Right. Which is what directing really is. So.
Well, you have to have leaders.
Yes.
So that's neat. Well, before you respond to that comment, so as it relates to community theater, well, I guess everything in life, but we're talking about community theater now. As it relates to community theater, how important is that sector of things that people walk away from? That's that piece of it, which is growth, which is human development, which is communication skills, which is leadership skills.
Exactly.
All of those things can happen through community theater, right?
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about community theater in general, is just because of all of those life skills. It's things that I have seen people learn and develop from. Like, I've witnessed it firsthand, people who won't talk to anyone else when they first walk in, and they're just like, I'm here because I'm in homeschool and I don't have a lot of outside communication or whatever, and just seeing them grow and develop and form friendships, and watch them just go from barely squeaking out their voice on stage to fully projecting their voice and acting out their lines, and really just watching them grow and develop. And not only, when they're on stage, but their interpersonal skills with one another when they're off stage after that. So I've definitely seen it with a lot of our actors.
So good human development work going on.
Yes.
Right. Well, Chloe, that sets you up there for us to chat about that. So obviously you have an elf in front of you. I think that's in tribute to the Reindeer Games and what you have coming up soon. But let's talk about your discovering the Wilkes Playmakers and being on stage. There's your first director right there, right?
Yes.
And bringing on a major part, going through that process, what that meant to you, and now being nurtured along to actually be a director. Kind of talk about those things.
My first play I was in was The Pied Piper. It was a theater school production. I believe I was around 11 or 12. And I was actually in it with 2 or 3 of her sons.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't know her at the time. All 3 of them? Okay. But so I did that one, and then I stepped away for a minute because I got busy with other things. And then all of a sudden, I decided in 2021, I really wanted to do theater again. And I went on the Wilkes Playmakers website, and I found the audition for Murder in the House of Horrors. And I went and I auditioned, and actually it wasn't that show. It was supposed to be Otto Wood, but we didn't have enough to cast, so we switched it over to Murder in the House of Horrors.
Right.
So that was my first show. I got to be on the main stage, not as a theater school production. And then I did Little Mermaid, which was a musical in the spring of 22. And then I've done 8 main stage shows
Wow,
with Playmakers, and I've been involved with 11 shows in total. But for the beginning of, was it 23? The beginning of 23, I went out and I auditioned for Alice, and like Holly said, she was directing that show, and she cast me, and I was not expecting that because every other role I gotten before that was ensemble.
Okay.
And that was my biggest role that I gotten.
So how do you, I mean, what was that like for you, knowing that, you get the notice, right? And you're like, wait a minute, that's a big part. Were you thinking that's a big part, or you're like, of course, I expected that?
No, it was huge for me, and it still is huge for
Right.
me to have someone have put that much faith in me and believe in me and trust that I could do well. The only thing, I've only gotten that from my parents before, so to have Holly put all of that faith in me and see my personality, and just all of that, it was really big for me, and it still is.
Right.
And that's why I've done every show Holly's put on since then, and I still plan on doing every show she produces.
I'm hearing every word you're saying, but there was something that was said that just stuck in my head, and that was that in school, 3 of her boys, her children, were scouting for you. And said, hey, Chloe's very talented, Mom. You keep an eye on her. Were your sons okay with doing scouting work for you at that young age?
I'm sure they probably didn't realize that that's what they were doing, but yeah.
Very good subliminal training there. That's great. Oh, my goodness. So how old are you now, Chloe?
I'm 17.
So you're 17 now, which is good. I mean, so you started learning this side of things last year. Was it last year or year before last? Directing and
So directing, this is really her first
so
experience.
this is
with
the
directing.
first one.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Are you intimidated at all? Or are you comfortable?
A little bit at first, but it's really just, for me at least, because Holly's done a lot of the work, just building the relationship with the cast, which is, I've done that before, and I was kind of tying those pieces together. I did warm-ups for Holly, I think every production you've put on. And I've been the runner. I've kind of been her little elf for a while now. So
right.
this has been another step so we're kind of more even now. And it's
Right.
been, I love working for Holly.
Right.
And working with Holly is a pleasure too.
Have you gone home yet and sat down with a cup of coffee or tea, or just in a quiet moment and just close your eyes and thought about this now leadership thing that you're learning? And have you had little thoughts of like, I really like this. I think I want to do more of this. Has that happened yet?
I do really like the directing portion, and it has been very fun to be in a leadership position, and it's been a lot of work too. It's been very confidence building, because when she first pitched it to me, I was terrified. I was like, I'm going to make her angry at some point in this process, and she's going to drop me,
Right.
which is just ridiculous, because
Right.
we've really been, any sort of question or alteration, we've been on the same page with.
Right.
So that was just silly of me.
Did you really think that she would drop you from direct? You say
Not-
like, there was a little bit there, a little
Just
apprehension.
a little bit.
We all have voices up here, that tell us all sorts of things.
Yeah.
We got to ask him this. Would you set this one out? I got this right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're breathing deep and you're going through the process. The show's going to be coming up soon. How do you feel about that?
I'm really confident in this show.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a pleasure to work with the cast. It's been a pleasure to work with Holly. The set looks amazing. We've got the background all done. We're still working on it, but it'll be a good show, and you should come out and see it.
Yeah. So, Holly, listening to Chloe talk and share this story from her perspective, I mean, what's going through your head?
I mean, I've just watched her grow and develop so much over the last couple of years, and I'm really proud of the work that she's put in. And like she said, any of the creative ideas that we've had, we've been like aligned. So it's like she's living inside of my brain a little bit with some of these things. But it's just a compliment to how much she's paid attention, and she knows, I guess, like my style and that kind of thing too. So one thing I am really looking forward to is seeing her kind of take the helm herself and see what she can create without having someone that she has to answer to,
right.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Isn't that part of your responsibility as a director and being on the board and having served and done all those things, for community theater to truly be powerful? It has to continue to attract new talented young people, or take people that aren't talented and inspire them. Little hopefully a spark is ignited, and then they become talented.
Exactly. And I think one thing to keep in mind is for anyone who's ever been nervous or think that they can't do it, or it's just not for them or whatever, anyone can get on stage and create something. Or even if you don't want to be on stage, you can be behind the scenes and still be a part of something really amazing. And my favorite thing of the whole process is just literally going in the first day for rehearsals and seeing a completely blank stage. Nothing's on the stage. It's all black. Floor's black. The curtains are black. There's nothing. And then by the end of it, you have this bright, colorful thing that you've created with so many people. So, it's just an amazing experience.
So, Holly, you've had that experience for years now. But Chloe, when you were standing there, because she's been with you from the beginning, right, with this show. So, when you're standing there beside Holly and you're looking at that blank stage, you've had the benefit of hearing what Holly saw, but what did you see? Was that intimidating to you, or were you like seeing it right away as well?
A little intimidating, because I don't know what to expect. And a lot of times when we build the set, we change blocking. So looking up at that and then seeing pieces of set come in, I'm like, oop, there's a chest by the end of my bed. I'm going to trip over that. I tripped over that chest 4 times, I think, during Peter Pan.
Because it wasn't there when we were practicing. So.
Yeah. So working around that can be a little challenging, but it's worth it for the set, because Holly's a set wizard. It's just, and then the blank stage, like you asked specifically, when Holly's looking at it, I see the gears turning in Holly's head, and I'm just excited to see what comes out.
Okay. Now let's, based upon this conversation about this experience, let's translate that experience of community service, which is what Playmakers are all about, right? That everybody's volunteering, you're creating a product that the community comes and they support, and you're wanting to invoke a feeling there, right? So this idea of having that sense of responsibility to create something that inspires people, not only to be repeat customers for Benton Hall, for Wilkes Playmakers, but then to also participate in some way, either just keep buying tickets or maybe volunteer themselves. So my question for you, Chloe, is that at your stage of the game now, is this something that, just based upon your current experience up to this day, that you see being a part of your life, for years to come?
For sure. I don't plan on ever stopping doing theater. It is my happy place. I love theater. I love the people with theater. I love connecting with other people. I'm homeschooled, and I dual enroll at the community college, so I've gotten a little bit of interpersonal skills from there. But up until last year, I was homeschooled, and I didn't have a lot of the interpersonal connections that public school kids got. So theater is where I go to make friends and happy in the connections and everything. And I never plan on stop doing that. And if I'm able to inspire just one person to come out and try theater and be involved or volunteer or watch a show or even audition or start directing, that makes me very happy. And I feel like that's one of my greatest achievements is getting people to come into theater.
Wow. So how does that make you feel hearing her say that?
I mean, that's exactly the way that I have felt about it for years. So, to hear like the next generation coming up having those same feelings about it really just gives a lot of hope in, the future of, not just Wilkes Playmakers, but theater in general. I think it's very important for young people or even, people my age and older to have that outlet and to be able to be involved in something like that. So it's inspiring to see that it's still translating down.
It's a good thing, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So from your perspective, before we talk about the show that's coming up, what, from a Benton Hall's evolution, lots of things continue to happen at Benton Hall with the building, with your just program developments. Where do you see things now at Benton Hall and with the Wilkes Playmakers? What's the future look like from your perspective?
I mean, I really have a lot of hope for the future at Benton Hall and Wilkes Playmakers. Just this year alone, we've had so many brand new people coming in that have never been on stage before. Our show actually is about 50% brand new people with leading roles. So, I really am hopeful that it'll continue growing that way, and these new people will continue to bring in other new people, and that we can build our volunteer base. One thing that we always need is more volunteers. Whether it's behind the scenes or, doing house committee or things like that. But, we have a lot of really fun, exciting things coming up. And I'm really excited for where things are going. And, I may not be a board member anymore because, I've served my time with the board. But I do think that they're going to bring some really great things.
Have you really stopped acting like you're not on the board, though? I mean, as far as your sense of responsibility, don't you kind of see things a little bit the same way?
Yeah. So, once you serve on the board, you definitely do see things from a different light because you see all of the intimate details of things that go into running it. Because, at the end of the day, it is a business. Sure. So there's a lot of decisions that have to be made, and a lot of, whether it's financial decisions or, whatever it may be, prioritization of projects that you need to complete, whether it's, doing renovations to the back terrace like Steve Kreitz has spent so much time doing, or it's, okay, do we have the money to put new lights in this year, or do we need to allocate that money to repair plumbing, or, there's always a lot of responsibility. So once you see all of that happening in the background, you never really can just cut it off and forget about it.
Chloe, does that help you in hearing that and learning from Holly about having a keener sense of awareness of how things really operate? But wait a minute, your mom's on the board too, right?
Yes.
That's right. Oh, you get it from all sides, right?
Yep.
Right. You're like, look, I understand you think that's a great idea, Chloe, but there's a budget to be considered. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, a little bit.
You'll hear it a lot more.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, her mom is the current president of the board, Laura, and I hope she remains the president for a bit. So, yeah.
Is she? She's not wanting to leave, is she?
I don't think so.
No, she's stuck.
Yeah,
she's stuck.
Yeah, she's stuck with me.
There you go. All right. Well, that's a good thing. Well, it's exciting to me to be able to share the stories about Benton Hall for Life in Wilkes, because it's such an important part of community. Everything is a piece of community, but some things are easier to celebrate, and some things are easier to be involved with, right? And Wilkes Playmakers is one of those things that if someone's looking for a place to volunteer, to be involved with theater in any aspect, something could be found at Wilkes Playmakers, right?
Definitely.
As long as you're a reasonably nice person.
Reasonably nice, yes. That's the lowest qualification.
Even the naughty ones, you can maybe get them on a bit part,
Usually theater can turn even the grinchiest of souls,
Yes, so. Into a soft, gooey...
somewhat, at least,
something.
Yes.
Wow. Do you think that's true, Chloe?
I do think it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the optimism of elf that you have. So that's great. Okay, let's talk about the Reindeer Games real quick.
Yes.
So, what's it all about? Is this the first time you've directed Reindeer Games?
This is the first time I've directed Reindeer Games. I've never directed a Christmas show before.
Oh.
Christmas is definitely my favorite holiday. I know you asked us earlier if we like Christmas.
Yeah.
I love Christmas. But it is a little bit of a challenge because you're giving up a lot of time around the holidays
sure.
for a show. But so Reindeer Games is really about teamwork and collaboration, just everything that we were just talking about, that's involved in theater. So basically, one of Santa's reindeer, Dasher, part of the Nifty Nine, has decided to retire, and so they're looking for her replacement.
Oh, my.
So they go through this interesting battle of games that you might not anticipate reindeer actually playing, but they do.
Right, like what? What do they do?
Like foot races or sled pull or chimney hopping.
Chimney hopping? Oh, sure.
Chimney
sure,
hurdles,
sure.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ballroom dancing.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
Didn't see
Yeah.
that one coming. Okay, all right. Which deer would lead? I mean, who's the lead dancing deer?
Well, you'll just have to watch the show to find out.
I knew
Yeah.
she was going to say that. Chloe, what do you think? What valuable life lessons are you taking away from the Reindeer Games?
I agree with Holly that the Reindeer Games shows how much teamwork and kindness can go such a long way. And it's a really funny show. There are
Right.
some jokes. And personally, one of my favorite parts is we have the announcers, and they do so many little gags and jokes and everything.
Right.
And they improv a lot and narrate things. It's been really fun to learn from this show because everyone has such good teamwork, and they're compassionate and empathetic, and it's been a great experience.
Okay, so at this day in the game, how many rehearsals have you had?
Oh, gosh.
A lot.
We've been rehearsing for about 6 weeks.
Okay, 6 weeks rehearsal, so that's a lot. So, as the assistant director, right, share with us one of your favorite moments as it relates to the Reindeer Games that you've had so far, Chloe.
I think one of my favorite rehearsals was when we had one of our characters came out, and I won't say who because
Right.
it's kind of a spoiler.
Right.
But she came out and she was all like jumpy and very excited, and she went, "Ah!" And then kind of looked around a little bit and then led with another line, and everyone was like, "Okay, we're going with it." And
Yeah.
they worked through it, and they used teamwork, and they pushed through it, and then they circled it back around to where it was supposed to be, and it all
Right.
made sense, and it was all very cohesive.
So she forgot her line, or
Yeah.
he forgot.
Came out too early.
It came out too early, yeah.
Oh, came out too early.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
That's one of the things with theaters, especially when it's live, is you just have to go with it.
Right.
Whatever happens, happens at that point.
You know, I have a good friend. We were talking one day, and he was telling me this story about how nervous and aggravated he was that somebody had missed some lines that from something he was directing. And I said, so what happened? And he said, well, he said, this kid reminded me, he said, so, Mr. So-and-so, you know they don't have the script, right? In the audience, right?
Right,
So we don't
exactly.
have the script.
Exactly.
So is that a skill set or a part of your directing, teaching, or instructing of like, look, this may happen. It
Right.
happens to the best. And if it does, do this.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So, one of the things that we have really been focusing on for the last couple weeks is line memorization. So, we know that sometimes you're going to say the line a little bit different than
Right.
exactly the way it's written in the script. And sometimes the script just doesn't feel natural. So when you're trying to deliver the line in a natural way, you tend to change it up a little bit. So one of the things that we've tried to instill in the cast is, you need to know the general context of what that character's line is if it's your cue line, and don't wait for exact words to be said, to be able to come in and say your next line. We have really been focusing in on getting the lines in order for the last few weeks, but starting, usually around Tech Week, dress rehearsals, you just kind of have to let things flow the way they end up flowing, because at that point, you can't really correct it anymore, So, part of knowing what to do if someone freezes on stage, or if they forget a line, or if they say it, a line from scene 2 during scene 1 for some reason, is part of that is just a natural ability to know how to improv and to move on and to get it back on track. And sometimes that does take a lot of experience to be able to do. But then you have other people who can just naturally come in and pick it up and take it and go with it. So it is definitely a mixed bag of skills to know what to do when that happens. But it's going to happen. Every show it happens.
I completely get why this is important, not just on the stage, but just in life in general. Mm-hmm. And, maybe reindeer get it easier than people. I don't know how that goes.
You'll have to see the show to find out.
But it does sound like, it does back to the theater itself and community theater. It does seem like that you're teaching some life lessons, right? Mm-hmm. These are transferable skills. Yes, when you're on stage, this is what you do. But there are many life situations that benefits you, just knowing you got to keep the show rolling.
Yeah, definitely. The show must go on, that old adage.
And that starts every morning, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
This has been fantastic, Holly. Chloe, it's been great to meet you. You've done a good job on your mini-me, so that's, that's always important, and everybody needs mini-me's just because, and I know that's a fun way to say that, but I think we all have a responsibility to inspire people and try to help make the world a little bit better. Definitely. With people we bump into, right?
Yep.
Great. Well, good job, Holly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chloe, congratulations for having your first official directorial debut.
Yeah, exactly.
That's big. You'll never forget that.
No, especially with Holly.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.